Hey guys, this is Nerd Taku Podcast. I am your host, Eli. With me is my co-host, Ben.
Hey guys, how's it going?
This is another movie review. We watch it so you don't have to. This week, we are reviewing the 2002 film Bang Bang You're Dead. Spoiler warnings ahead. Ben, my dude, are there spoilers?
Oh yeah, there's definitely spoilers in this one.
Director, Guy Ferland. Main cast, Tom Cavanaugh, Ben Foster, Jane McGregor, Randy Harrison. This 2002 film that only aired on Showtime, I feel it was a dark horse of a film. Very unconventional in the camera with the shaky cam. Very unconventional style of film on a topic that's very sensitive to today's standard or today's time with bullying and school shootings. And yeah, how did you feel about this film? I felt it was very a dark horse.
I was surprisingly into this film. Like, watching the trailer, I didn't think that much would come out of it, and I got a lot more out of it than I was thinking I would. I actually felt emotion, and I could feel what this kid was going through. It was really actually quite hard to watch in some parts. It was very well done, and I'm surprised it's not as all that well known, but seeing as how it's a Showtime film, I guess that makes more sense because Showtime films, a lot of them don't get released to DVD or anything, and so not many people would know about it. But I really enjoyed this story. It connected to me really well, actually.
So the synopsis to this film is Trevor is a troubled high school student thanks to the effects of bullying. This is the story of his fight to break free. I just felt this movie explained a story in a very surprising pacing. In the beginning, it was pacing was super everywhere, but you still kept with the story. I still understood it, still was following it, and throughout this whole movie, it was just so good.
I agree. I actually felt the pacing at the beginning was quite slow. It just it's him walking in with his camera, and it's that shaky cam that we see, and I liked it. I just a lot of it was, I think, for the first 35 minutes it was pretty slow. But as you got into the film, the pacing picked up. So that's what kept you actually watching. As soon as the intro was given and kind of his little bit of a story was released, and then it actually started going into the plot more and it started to pick up, that's when your focus came more into the film. So, with how well the plot was delivered, I really enjoyed this film.
So overall, I gave it a 7.75.
My overall was an 8.
Let's go through this list and start from the top. Let's go with plot.
I gave the plot a 1.
I gave the plot a 0.75. I that beginning part, because it felt such fast pace, I felt in the most beginning part, I got lost. Just with all the cuts, and it was just moving the story quite a bit because the movie's not that long. It's a 90-minute film, less than 90 minutes. And they were trying to tell this really compelling story. It's very hard to watch at certain points. And with the plot, more and more cuts were happening in the beginning to try to get the exposition out quicker. So that's why I gave it the 0.75.
I can understand that. I put that more in directing than anything, but I would say that I really enjoyed the plot line. The pacing at the beginning was, yeah, you did kind of have to figure out what was going on, but afterwards they followed the plot really well. This movie was actually based on the actual play Bang Bang You're Dead. It's something that got the movie is based on the play Bang Bang You're Dead, and as of 2002 it had over 100,000 downloads, leading to thousands of productions in schools, community centers, and churches throughout America and the world. And the director and writers decided that they wanted to make a film out of it. They wanted to base their film around this play, and they did a damn good job. This kid, Trevor, is struggling with bullying after, for some reason, he gets garbage canned. There was no reason for it. All he was doing was minding his own business at his table. They were getting pepped up for a pep rally, and the jocks decided that they were going to throw him in a garbage can. And after that, his life just he just continued to get bullied for absolutely no reason. And he ended up making a bomb threat, building a bomb with no explosives in it, but every other part worked. And after that, he gets labeled throughout the town, and it just goes through his story of what these people were doing to him as a result of him being labeled a terrorist in town. And I don't know, I thought that it moved really well. I thought that it was a smooth pace. Nothing really rushed, nothing too slow after the first 30 minutes, and I connected the plot really, really, really well. I thoroughly enjoyed this film, especially the video when they go into the council room with the parents, the police, the teachers, and they show the film that he had made, that he was recording every day, why he feels how he feels, why he's doing what he's doing because of all this shit that's going on in his life for absolutely no reason. My God, they showed that film and I just chills, man, just chills with that because I was bullied in school, but not to this extent. And I can't even imagine how terrible it feels because I know how I felt, but to how badly this kid is bullied, I don't know, man. It that's just wow. And not to mention he'd get home from school and his dad was a fucking dick. God, I hated his father. Had no empathy whatsoever towards this kid. But I connected with this plot so well, I had to give it a 1. It was just absolutely amazing. It was a very, very strong plot.
Like you said, that first 30 minutes, it took a little bit of the pacing. And I think that first 30 minutes, it just got a little jumbled. And that's why I will keep mine to the 0.75 it was. Acting.
I gave the acting a 0.75.
I gave it a 0.75. There were strong actors in this film. Tom and Ben were the best actors in this whole film. They delivered their characters so mesmerizing. I loved Trevor. Trevor was played by Ben Foster, and he was so good. I believed the pain this kid was feeling. I believed the struggles this man was going through. Also, Tom Cavanaugh, he played the teacher, Val Duncan, who was the theater teacher. And those two just played off each other so well because Duncan was the support that Trevor needed. And Trevor realized that Duncan was his only hope to actually have a normal life. But Ben Foster, man, to play this kid who went through all this bullying, all this hatred, it was just so clean. It was so good. But majority of the acting throughout the film for me was okay. It wasn't great. You could feel the inexperience in the acting. When Tom is your top guy who does primarily TV shows, it feels like in the movie scene, there's not a lot of experience there. Tom is a great actor, but he's well known for his TV shows. You don't see him on the big screen. So I gave it a 0.75 because I felt like the acting was just subpar. It was okay. Like it did the job for the story. But with Ben Foster and Tom Cavanaugh being the two top actors, that gave it the 0.75 because those two were so good.
I gave it a 0.75 for basically the same reasons. Ben Foster and Tom Cavanaugh really clicked together. They did an amazing job. But Tom Cavanaugh, I didn't know who he was until I watched The Flash, the TV series. And then I looked him up and he has a huge repertoire. He is very well known. Well, he's actually a very underrated actor, but if you know TV, then you know he's very well known because he's not on the big screen much. He's in a few, but not a lot. He is a huge TV actor. And I had no idea who he was until I watched The Flash, but I gotta say, I 100% believe that Tom held this film Ben did an amazing job. He got you to connect to his character. He got you to connect to Trevor really well. He got you to feel everything that Trevor was feeling. But Tom, just from the beginning, you knew that that was the one character that was going to help this kid. Nobody else wanted to, nobody else tried to. But you knew for a fact that Tom's Val Duncan was there for Trevor, and it was amazingly done. I also really liked Randy Harrison, who played Sean, the friend that Trevor ends up making because they both hate the jocks. But the way that he showed what a teen who wants to do a school shooting looks like, the way that he was attacked all the time when he was alone, and he's fed up with it and gets his buddies, and they do that video in the car saying, "Goodbye, mom. Goodbye, dad. We're not planning on coming out of this alive. So this is the last you're going to see us." It reverberated in me. It was strong. And I can't say that what they did was correct, was good, because no shooting is good. But with how terribly tortured these kids were, and as a teen, you're not going to go to adults and complain. You're not going to tell them what's going on in their life. You're just not.
No.
And so somehow they have to go through these struggles and figure out what to do because they don't feel like they can go to an adult. And the way Sean's character just went from having fun with his friends to I've fucking had it and we're going to bring these guns into the school. This is the plan. This is what's going to happen. It was very well done. I really did enjoy Sean's character. But the rest of the cast, like you were saying, you could see the inexperience. You could see how their acting was. It felt like they were just reading lines on a page and then delivering it into a movie. There wasn't a whole lot of real connection with anyone else. Even David, who's Brad, he did an okay job. He was the ringleader. You could see the bully in him, but I still feel like all he was doing was delivering lines. He wasn't really trying to get you to connect to his character. And that's how most of the cast was, really, except for Tom Cavanaugh and Ben Foster. So I had to give it a 0.75.
Character development.
I ended up giving that a 1.
I gave it a 1.
I was actually really surprised that I gave it a 1 because, again, Trevor's character does not develop until the last 15, 20 minutes of the film. But it's so strong of a development, you can't ignore it. He starts thinking about, he's okay with going through it that night. He's helping them figure out a plan to get the guns in. He's recording them. Then he starts thinking about Jenny, and then something clicks in him, and he's like, this isn't right, because this will be on our minds for the rest of our lives. Even though they didn't plan on coming back alive, Trevor still wasn't going to be part of the shooting, so it would be on his mind for the rest of his life, especially if Jenny had gotten shot. So something clicked in him, and he goes there, asks Jenny if she'd like to talk, and then tries to convince her to leave. Then he sees Duncan and tells Jenny to get out, goes over to Duncan, tries to get Duncan to listen to him, and Duncan's dealing with other students, so he's just kind of like, you have to go, just get out. And then he says guns, and Duncan stops for a sec. Then Trevor kind of explains a little bit and then runs to where Sean and his buddies are preparing their weapons and holds that door shut. Trevor had the biggest development in this. Sean's development happened, but small. At the end, when Trevor stopped him from doing his shooting, Sean then realized that, okay, yeah, this was a bad idea. But it was just that little blip. There wasn't a lot. All of the development really did come from Trevor, but because it was so strong and so powerful there at the end, I had to keep it at a 1. He just, you knew that his character was finally figuring this out, that there are ways out of this. There is a life after high school. It's not all this bullying. Yeah, it sucks, but it'll pass. And then life goes on.
I felt Trevor's development started with the video he made, explaining everything and showing throughout this diary the struggles of what being a high schooler is. And you could see the compassion that he felt in the film for Jenny. Can I tell her and like, can I actually be real with her. And he when that video came out, you saw that room get silent. And Trevor just sat there. And then the principal was like the zero tolerance policy. And then when he got announced that he was expelled, you saw the tear that fell through his eye. No, why? And you see that, and it's just so heartbreaking. And like you said, the whole situation with the gang and them about to shoot up the school, that took so much development to let everyone know, get out, and he stopped it. He even stopped Sean from committing suicide. It was such a strong thing. And the development of when Sean said, "I'm in so much trouble," and then Trevor's like, "No, we're in trouble." Like he brought it in and was like, "I'm not leaving you. Like I'm by your side. Yes, you did something wrong, but I'm here because I was part of it." The development of that was so big and just profound. And then with the play at the end, it was just so good to see him flip his life around and do something good. That's why I gave it a 1. Sound and music.
0.75.
I gave it a 0.5. I just didn't feel any music that wasn't some like quick doo-doo, doo-doo, like going through the halls in the beginning. I just didn't feel anything. Like there was nothing there that was making me feeling the intensity. Like at the end, maybe a little when they were getting ready to do the shooting and Trevor's trying to stop it. But really there was nothing there to grasp. I didn't feel anything that kept me interested. It was cool that they did all the sound effects for that explosion when they blew up the car. That was cool, but really there was nothing. Nothing to grasp.
I thought there was a couple scenes that grasped really well. I really enjoyed the music at the final credits. It was heartwarming, kind of made you feel what this whole film was telling you. It opened up your heart really well. And I thought that one really good choice that was given in the film was when Trevor was in his bed and he's contemplating life, they start playing My Own Prison from Creed, acoustic version. Holy shit. I was just like, "Ooh, oh yeah. Yeah, I feel it. This good, damn good music choice. I feel it." Yeah, I enjoyed the explosion, the sound effects for the explosion, and even when Kavanaugh is getting all the kids out of the cafeteria to because of when Trevor had warned him what was going on. That was super intense. That was like it's slow motion on Kavanaugh as he's pounding these things, the trays together, telling people, "Get up, get out now. This is an emergency. Emergency exits. Go, go." And then the music starts to intensify. It does that, you know that. I don't know how to. I yeah, good enough, but it like it really intensifies and it shows the struggle. It shows the untimely panic that's going on in this room, and I really liked it. I thought that they did a really good job on their sound. It wasn't worth a 1. It wasn't quite up high enough to get me really, really captivated into the film, but it was good enough that it kept me watching. I Especially when they started playing My Own Prison. I was just like, "Wow, I feel this part. I feel what he's going through right now." It's hurtful, and I don't know, I liked it.
You know, when you brought up Creed, I forgot about that. I truly did. And that song just hits home a little too much. So I'm going to bring mine to a 0.75 because that song, oh, it's just good. Like you said, it's not worth a 1, but a 0.75, it justifies it. It truly does.
Agreed.
Cinematography.
I ended up giving that a 1.
I gave it a 0.75. I was not a fan of some of the shaky cam. It was just a little much. I understand shaky cam. I understand it was filmed by a high schooler in some parts trying to portray that. I just didn't like it. I didn't like some of the cuts in the beginning. It just didn't feel clean. It felt a little too much. At some points you'd get plot, but then it would cut immediately to a different scene. and then cut back to that same one, and then cut. Like one of the scenes was they were rehearsing for the play, and then immediately cut, and then immediately cut, and it felt like there was like 4 cuts in a matter of like 2 minutes. I just felt it was too much. So I did like some of the shots when they were the slow-mo with Duncan slamming the trays. I liked when he was holding the door and you just saw the camera right behind Sean pointing the gun at Trevor. Just such good shots. I loved the camera shots that Trevor did with the homemade video when he was just laying there, like with the camera, like, is this the end or when will this stop? But I couldn't give it a 1. I couldn't. Just too many cuts in the weirdest parts.
I I gave it a 1 solely because I absolutely loved the slow motion intensity that was given in the cafeteria when Duncan is banging those trays to get people out. But then I actually liked the beginning how they did the first person shaky cam because it kind of introduced the fact that he always has a camera on. Ever since that happened to him, he was always recording. And I liked how they introduced that fact for the first 10, 15 minutes of the or it was only like 10 minutes of the film with him holding that camera, going into the office, talking with the counselor, talking with the principal. I really liked it. I also loved the editing and the cuts that were done in that they were all watching with Trevor narrating it and explaining his story and why he's doing what he's doing, why he feels how he feels. I loved how well that was edited in, going from his face to what's going on in the school, back to him to what's going on, back to him. I loved that. I didn't mind the cuts in the during the rehearsal of the play because it was showing different scenes that they were practicing. It was going scene by scene by scene. So it was showing they were practicing one scene and now they're practicing another and now they're practicing another. It didn't give you the entire play until the very end when they wanted to show you bang bang you're dead. I thought that what they did with the cinematography was actually really really impressive and I had to give it a 1. I feel like it deserved its 1 for being a I feel like it was a low budget film, but for how low budget it was, they still made it work really well, and I quite enjoyed it.
Directing.
I gave that a 1.
I gave it a 0.75. Like I said, with it kind of ties in a little bit with cinematography, some of the choicings of the camera angles. I did like the whole story, the premise he was going for. He wanted to show that bullying can cause school shooting. This was right after Columbine. So this film, when it came out, really hit another note because this happened not 2 years before in Colorado. So I think the director wanted to try to get that message across. And I really enjoyed his message that he was trying to portray, that bullying can cause this, bullying can do this. You got to be careful who you like talk to, and you got to be aware of your attitude towards others. So I really did like it. I just felt like some of the choicings in his cinematography that he chose, and I know it was like a lower budget film most likely, but some of the acting directions he gave, I just felt like it was okay.
I gave it a 1 because I feel like he knew exactly what story he wanted to show, and he wanted people to connect with Trevor. He wanted people to know that bullying leads to trouble. He wanted people to see that with how people are treated comes consequences. And a lot of those consequences end up being school shootings because kids just have it. They can't handle anymore. And unfortunately, it happens. It truly does. And I feel like the director wanted to show that. He wanted to show the life of a kid that was being bullied who did really well in controlling himself. He threatened, in quotations, that he would explode as they put it, explode the football team. But he never actually went through it because he knew how to make the bomb. He showed us that he knew how to make the bomb. They blew up the car, but he didn't actually do it. He had self-control, enough self-control that he knew that that was wrong. He didn't do it. And Guy shows, he's like, okay, Ben, this is your character and this is your life. Think about just being a high schooler, going day to day, and then just being bullied every single day. And I'm sure that he coached Trevor through, or Ben through that, to get the exact point that he was trying to get across. And he did an amazing job at it. And I love that he showed a teacher who cared about this kid, because he was the only one who cared about him. Not even his parents did anything to help him. They, after he was blamed for the firecrackers going off in the cafeteria, they felt like Trevor was a bad kid. And after they saw the film, his first film, the film that he did for his class when he's shooting the barrel, they felt like he was going to find a gun and shoot them. So they lock their door, they lock up the firearm. I just loved how Guy got this story across and showed that nobody trusted Trevor except Val Duncan and Jenny. But just the way the story progressed was done on par, on T. He knew exactly what he was trying to portray, and it came out on screen, and it was done really well. So I felt like Guy did a really good job.
Yes, I did love his story, his portrayal of what he wanted his message across. It was really good. Very clean. Attraction.
0.5.
0.75.
A lot of the reason I brought the attraction down was the acting and the scenery. There wasn't a lot, and the acting was subpar, minus Ben Foster and Tom Cavanaugh. I loved the story. I got captivated by the story. I connected to the story. I loved the music. Development was really good, but the acting wasn't quite there. I feel like a lot of these people were kind of beginner actors, or really less known actors, and so they kind of just didn't have a lot of work. I don't know. I just felt like, again, I just felt like they were delivering lines on a page and not having you connect to these characters. So my main reason for bringing attraction down was the acting kind of took that away. Story was great. The scenery, not so much, because there wasn't a lot. There was them at the forest and at the school. So my attraction went down.
Yes. I gave a 0.75. I felt this film really showed its age, and I was very interested on how this story was going to go. So I was very attracted to the time period of the movie, and I was very attracted to the story. The acting, yes, the acting was not the greatest. It kind of pushed me away a little bit. But without Tom and Ben, I don't think the film would have survived. But I really did like the time era it came in. And I loved the generic small town vibe where you had all these boomers go, "We want this out of our schools." Yada, yada, yada. They all got mad because they're in a small town of 1,000 people and they hate each other. There's nothing to argue about. So you got to argue for argue's sake. And it's like, come on. Come on. So yeah, I love that. I love seeing the tropes and I love seeing the stereotypical type of environments that it was giving. That's why I give it a 0.75, because it was not deserving of a 1. No. This film could lose my interest if the main actors were not there.
Another reason why attraction went down for me, wholly dark tones throughout the entire film.
Yes.
I understand why. I can get why. It was supposed to be depressing. It was supposed to show the crap that this kid is feeling, and the way they decided to do that, like every other typical early 2000s film, dark tones.
Yes.
There was not a bright tone at all throughout this whole film. It was all dark. So that was another thing that brought down attraction.
I see that. I really do see that. Dialogue.
I gave that a 0.75.
I gave it a 1. I felt the whole film with Ben, his home video that he made, it just resonated so much. There were him talking about the freaks and the geeks and talking about the fags, and like in this culture, bullying was so extreme. And you felt like every film that came out in the 2000s was so much bullying, and Trevor was showing that. And the words he was saying, like how I feel and what can I do? I want to tell her, but I can't. It just hit so hard to see everyone in that room dead silent from his words. And then when he stopped his friend from killing himself, that line just hit. When he said, I'm in trouble. I said, no, we're in trouble. Oh, and then the play was just so good. The lines from the play, that whole performance was just spectacular and breathtaking. That's why I gave it a 1. The dialogue was just so well. And it was all around Ben and Ben Foster's character, Trevor. Trevor's character was written really well, in my opinion.
You know, I had marked it as a 0.75, but listening to what you have to say, I will definitely bring it up to a 1 because I also have 3 lines here that not and just on top of what you had said, on top of his speech during his video, the play itself, everything in the play was very well done, and his talking with his friend. But I also have right at the beginning, Duncan says to Trevor after he asks him to be in this play, and Trevor refuses, and Duncan says, "Why don't you decide who you are before someone else does?" Because everybody in the town is labeling him as a terrorist.
Yeah.
So Trevor's just kind of going with it. And so Duncan's like, "Why don't you decide who you are before someone else does?" That was so good. I was just like, "Oh, damn. I like that."
Exactly. That was such a good line.
Another one was when Trevor is talking with Jenny when they first meet, and he's like, "Have you ever been depressed?" And she's like, "Well, yeah, of course." And he's like, "No, I don't mean depressed like your dog died. I mean like you've got nothing to lose, where you don't care whether you live or die. That kind of depressed. Have you ever felt that kind of depressed?" Because I have. Because he's explaining, she asks him why he would threaten something like that, exploding the, as they put it, exploding the football team. And he says that line, and you're just like, "Oh shit, this kid, these kids are torturing this poor kid, and he didn't do anything. It makes no sense. Bullying makes no sense, period."
Preach
So
it, brother. Preach it.
like, this poor kid did nothing. He was studying in the freaking cafeteria, and they put him in a trash can, and that's where it all started. What is the point of that? There is no point. And him saying this line, it's just like, Jesus, man, this kid, ugh, it hurts. And then the last one I have is another line. This is actually from, I think it was from the play. I can't remember, but it's sometimes I hate being alive, but I'm too afraid to be dead.
Ooh. Ooh. That dude, that line just resonates to a
Right?
degree that I can't describe. Like that just made me chill because that line, I think in today's society just hits.
Oh, it really does.
Oh, oh, my dude. Oof.
Even now as an adult, I'm like, ooh, I feel that actually.
I actually feel that line a little too well.
Yeah. But yeah, so I'm bringing my dialogue up to 1 because you're right. It was just his character was so well written. A lot of the dialogue in this film was just amazingly written. That especially the conversations between Duncan and Trevor. It's like you can really feel that Duncan is the only one who cares for this kid. That's why he chose this play. He wanted Trevor to play the main part from the beginning to help him. Because the last lines in the film are, or in the play are, I have to feel this for the rest of my life, or something along those lines, because he has the ghosts from the past, the ghosts that he killed haunting him in the play. And he wanted Trevor to feel this. He wanted Trevor to know that sure they may be gone, but their deaths will haunt you. You life is precious. That's basically what he wanted to get through Trevor's head, and it worked. Just through Duncan's dialogue with Trevor, you could see that he loved this kid. You're right. The dialogue was just amazing throughout this film. It was just I don't know why I gave it a 0.75 to be honest.
Yeah. I don't I don't blame you for changing it. It's so good. Scenery.
0.5.
Yeah. I was thinking about it. I had it at a 0.75, but then I'm like, there's nothing spectacular. There's nothing there that like brought the story up. There was nothing there that brought the story together really. Like you're out of school, the basement, the theater, the community theater, the theater room at the school, the church, and that's in the woods. That's pretty much it. On the laundromat, but the laundromat was like a brief moment.
Yeah, there's nothing eye popping. There's just like you said, most of it's just filmed at the school. There's the few times in their little hut in the woods. They're I like their little shooting range where they got the bottles and the cars and they're just kind of fucking around, but I I just there just wasn't anything that really pulled you in. The best scenery that there was I liked how the play was given. I liked how they were in their white shirts as the ghosts, and all there was that coffin like table with a cloth over it in the dark with few lights on the stage. That was probably the best scenery given. But other than that, like nothing really pulled you in, so I couldn't give it higher than a point 0.5. I feel like even a point 0.5 is kind of generous, but there's nothing that really pulls you into the film.
Yeah, no, I totally agree there. Recommend.
0.75.
I gave it a 0.75. I truly believe that this film is can be so good. I just didn't think that this is for every audience. This isn't for every audience. And this isn't something I could strongly recommend because you can't find it anywhere. I couldn't like my copy was a YouTube 240p video because I didn't want to watch it in Spanish subtitles. So I just feel like this film is so hard to find. And with the dark tones that they were giving, I couldn't recommend this to everyone. I do recommend watching it because it's a really good film. It's a really good like indie film. And I really did enjoy it through and throughout. The story, the two main characters, the message it was giving, it was such a good overall movie. But because of how hard it is to readily get, you can't even pirate it. Like that's how hard it is to find. I will give it a 0.75.
I thoroughly enjoyed this film, and I think anyone would like it. I dropped it because it is impossible to find. That is why I had to drop it. I can't. Well, there are other reasons. Like if you were bullied in school or kind of had thoughts of hurting others or thoughts of suicide, this probably isn't the best film for you to watch. It it can get you. It hurts in some parts, especially the film that Trevor filmed. That like I felt that, and so if you have it's a trigger warning. There's a lot that can trigger you. but I really liked it. I also had to watch it on YouTube because you can't find it anywhere. You just can't. And so I brought down the recommend because it can trigger some people and you can't find it. But I think that for the most part, if you can find it, try it out. Give it a go because I don't think you'll hate it. I really enjoyed this film.
I totally agree with you there on the trigger warnings. It's very hard. It has a very, very hard tone to watch if you're triggered by bullying or self-harm. I totally agree. So overall, I gave it a 7.75 at the end. I kept my score. I did change some things with scenery and sound and music.
Mine went up to an 8.25.
Nice. This film, with it being such a niche film to find, it's actually super clean. It's super good. The acting is subpar, but this message and the story are so good. So overall, it's a good recommendation from us, but with the triggers and the availability.
Overall, I thought it moved kind of slow in the beginning, but after the first 30 minutes, it smoothed out and had a pretty steady pace throughout. Really hit me strong with Trevor's video. He caught everything that was happening, the pain that he was feeling, these other kids were feeling due to the stupid teasing, as the bullies called it, when ultimately it was just straight up bullying. I thoroughly enjoyed this film, but I can't recommend it to everybody because it does have trigger warnings and it's really hard to find. But if you can get your hands on it, try it.
As we wrap up this week's episode, next week we are going to be watching the 1995 anime film Memories. That trailer, what is going to happen? Like, so it looks like there's 3 episodes, 3 stories going to be told. I don't like they in the trailer it showed the names, but I forgot the names. I don't know how I feel. It looks intense. It has that 90s anime feel where it's super dark, super intense, and it's going to be maybe super gory. I'm super excited to see what stories are given for this. So, I give this a 7, but with a caveat of I'm really, really confused on what's going on.
Dude, I watched that trailer and I'm like, what the fuck is happening right now? Some guy pulls a ripcord and it shoots out a whatever the fuck it shot out. It didn't even shoot a bullet. It shot something round and then the screen showed I can't remember what the words were, but I don't know. I was so confused. I have no idea what I'm expecting for this one. Cause then you hear at the end, you hear some guy, memories, bang. Like,
yeah,
I don't know what to fucking expect. So I agree. It's got that 90s dark tone anime feel. It's probably gory. The trailer was gory, so I'm 100% sure this will be gory. And I have no idea what to expect. The trailer gave nothing.
Nope.
So I gave it a 4.5, but I hope it improves.
Yes. So as we wrap up, I like to say thank you everyone for tuning into this week's episode of Nerd Taku Podcast. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. And as always, Ben, I've always appreciated you coming on.
Of course, I absolutely love doing this and I can't wait to do more.
Guys, leave a comment. What we should be reviewing in our next upcoming episodes. We are about short announcement. We're about to wrap up the season. We're doing 20 episodes per season. So we're on episode 16. So we're about 4 more episodes away before we wrap up our season. So leave a comment for what we should be reviewing for season 2. So as always, guys, take care, have a good week, and stay safe.
See you guys. Thanks for joining us.